The first time I got to Indonesia from my home country, Hong Kong, um, it was very weird and very new to me because I was very comfortable in my home country. I have spent many of my teenage years and many of my childhood in that country. So moving here was such a big step, and it was not something that I wanted in the first time. So one thing that was a really huge constraint for me personally was my language. I was not able to use to speak Indonesian or speak English. I was only able to speak Cantonese and Mandarin because that's what I use back in my home country. So it was very hard to communicate with the people around me, especially if I go to restaurants, I go to shops. People assume I can speak Indonesian because of this Asian face. It's also very different, the entire environment, because in my home country we can just walk on the street and that's just how things work there. And here people on the streets are the ones begging for money. So not being able to walk around my hometown was very frustrating, and I feel like I'm just in this very small bubble that I have to stay in all the time when I'm in this country. So after a while, of course, I miss my home country and I want to go back. And it was not very comfortable, especially if I don't have any friends to talk to because of my language barrier. There couldn't anything that I could have done at that moment because I had to follow my parents to Indonesia because of their work. So there's nothing I could do except to just accept the situation I was in. After a while, of course, I made some new friends. I learned a new language because I had to for my high school subjects and to study and to graduate from high school. So after a while, I adapted to my new surroundings, and it was slowly I became more comfortable of everything around me. So I think one thing that I should have done is just to accept it. And I always go home frequently, so I don't miss one or the other home very much because I get best of both worlds, you can say. So when I first, before I moved here, some of the perceptions in my head about Indonesia was people are very quiet because in my home country we are always very loud, and then they're not huge spenders as much as the people in my home country. And the most important thing was the largest perception or misconception in my head was here is very hot and very humid, and people are more sensitive towards things, and I have to be careful on what I have to say. And then people are also very slow and you can say very lazy in a sense, not in a very negative sense, but they can be very lazy because they are also very slow. And the perceptions of my friends here about my home country, Hong Kong, is that we are very, very fast eaters. When we see food in front of us, we'll eat it very quickly. And then we're also very fast walkers. We are very loud talkers. We talk like no one can listen to us. And then we have very good food. We are also workaholics. We work from day to night. And then we are always on time, and then we cannot stop moving. We just like to walk and move around. So some of the things proven correct when I moved here was that people can be very sensitive, and I have to really watch what I say because people take things to their heart very easily, and they're also very quiet compared to my home country, and they are not very huge spenders. They tend to save money more than people in my home country. Some of the negative experience that I have encountered when I first moved here was people constantly telling me to speak in Chinese, like they've never heard it before. So, for example, they'll just say, "Oh, you're from Hong Kong. Say something in Cantonese," over and over again. So it's very frustrating for me to getting asked the same question over and over again. And secondly, they assume that I'm very, very smart because of these glasses and because I'm Asian, very, very Asian from China, from Hong Kong. So they assume I study 24/7.